Pop, what's going on, man?
Son, how you doing?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Living the dream. Out here talking football with my pop on a Saturday. How can you get any better, right?
Preach.
Not too bad. Not too bad. So today, the much anticipated, much teased on Twitter schedule prediction podcast. Um, Spoiler alert: we're going to do a little bit better than the 7-10, 6-11 we've been hearing from a few of our buddies online. We're going to do a little bit better than that.
Damn straight.
But yeah, we're getting right into it, man. It's going to be fun. We're going to go game by game, predict wins and losses, and then the final record. We're also going to talk some NFL news and notes. There's a little bit of some big contract signed this week. What does that mean for the Commanders going forward? We can talk a little bit of that, and especially the NFL Bada Bets. Bada Bets is back for the first time this season. We're going to talk some win totals. Don't forget, man, if you enjoy it, don't forget to please like, comment, subscribe. And yeah, what do you say we get right into it?
That's
Pop,
one hell of a setup, son.
how you feeling?
Wow.
Give people your intro.
Love it.
Boys dial. You got anything to give to the people, Pop, or you want to get right into it, man?
I think get right in it. I've got a vibe check next. That's what I'll
All right.
speak then.
There you go. So where are your vibes at?
Such a beautiful job. I don't want to attain it.
I left Pop speechless a minute into the podcast. It's a good start.
Never a good thing for a podcast.
But we're gonna hit a vibe check real quick on the schedule. Talk a little bit about things we like, we don't like. Where are your vibes at with the schedule in general, Pop?
I am generally cool with it, right? Like, I kind of think I got an interesting take. I mean, we're going to go game by game, but I think the start I kind of like. I like the fact that, going from a home game against the Giants into a Thursday night game against Green Bay, because in the preseason we have a chance to prepare for both games. So it's kind of a good time to have a Thursday night game on the road because it's early. Then you get that mini bye built in pretty early in the season. So I kind of like that because I think we can really prepare for that. And you got to love Giants at home. I think that's a great home opener. Winnable game, division opponent. I like that. I would say generally cool. Like, I like the Madrid game. I know you might not have a different take, but I like that. I like the fact that we got a bye after the Madrid game in week 11. What I don't like, the biggest thing I don't like about this schedule is playing Philly 2 out of the last 3 games. I hate that.
Yeah.
Because I just feel like we got to wait so long for that matchup, and then it's 2 out of 3. Injuries could play a big part. I don't get that. I don't like that at all. I mean, if they want to load us up on NFC East games at the end and we play 3 out of the last 4 or something against our division opponents, I'm cool with that concept. But 2 out of 3 out of Philly at the end of the year, I just don't like it. And it's not that I'm scared. I'm not scared at all. Let's just make that clear. I think
not even a little bit.
I think we're going to do some damage in those games. But I just hate it. I don't like that. I don't like the Christmas Day game too much either.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the Christmas Day game.
We'll explain why. It's just not a great dynamic with the family.
No, it sets up for some disaster. But I think, just very quickly looking at the schedule, why not switch that Philly game week 16 with Denver week 13?
Yeah.
So you're not going NFC East the whole way, and you can still do Philly on Sunday Night Football. You can still have that Denver game marquee matchup on that Saturday. That's what I would do. But what do I know? I'm not a fan of that either, just because I hate that you get to those 4 NFC East games at the end of the year. It's almost like you just get to that place. We were at that place with Rivera a few years ago, and of course it's a vastly different team and situation, but coming out of that Vegas game that we went to go see, it was the same thing. It was 4 straight division games to end the year, and it's basically all right, you just hope to be treading water by the time you get to that, and our expectations for this team are much higher than treading water, but 13 games into the season, you hope to be anywhere between 7-5 and does that make 13? 7-6.
7-6.
You want to be in that range where you can just rip off a few of these straight division games. It creates a level of volatility throughout the season that I don't love. I don't think we'll be 7-6 at that point. I think we'll be a lot closer to 10-3. But you don't you put yourself in a situation with those 4 division games where, like you said, somebody twists an ankle, a key player goes down, misses a hamstring, something like that. You get into a real tricky situation at the end of the season. So I'm not particularly a fan of that, but clearly the NFL wanted those last games versus Philly to determine the NFC East. That's what's best for the NFL, and I think that will be what it comes down to. I think either week 16 or week 18, barring some kind of like catastrophic injury to either program, will determine the winner of the NFC East and potentially the number one seed for the NFC in general this year.
Yeah.
But we got 5 primetime games.
Let's say, can I make one other quick comment? I hate the Christmas Day games. I just hate
Yeah, me too.
I mean, if it happens to fall on a Sunday, it's fine. But I know it's going to be a shock. I don't particularly want to be watching football on Christmas Day. I just want Christmas Day to be about Christmas Day. Like, football dominates life throughout the fall and winter, as it is. They got to take over Christmas Day as well. Like, I hate it. I hate the fact that we're playing on Christmas Day. So I'll just leave it there.
Completely and totally agree with you. I'm not a fan of it either. It's the whole
maybe an unpopular opinion, but that's my opinion. So it's stick it if you don't like it.
Agree. It's fun. Like, we'll make the best of it, but I agree with you. I hate it.
I guess it depends on your family dynamic, right? If you don't have a lot going on and it's just kind of you and the family, maybe it's cool. But for us, it's a big day, and I just don't need to, my emotions to be toyed with.
That's how I feel too. For us, Christmas is like the biggest party of the year for our family, and like
it's about family, right?
We throw a huge party. It's just a time for, like, no matter what's going on, no matter what mood anybody's been in or anything like that, Christmas is always a day for us to just have a great time together. Always has been. So throwing football in the middle of that is just unnecessary, in my opinion. But we're here. That's what happens when you have the best quarterback in the NFL. They want to show them at any chance they get.
That's true. I mean, I think generally I'd rather, putting all that to the side, I would rather play Dallas at home on Christmas Day, just purely thinking football. That's it, just purely thinking football. I'd rather play Dallas at home on Christmas Day rather than having to go there on Thanksgiving Day. Personally, I'd rather have the Thanksgiving Day game. But
me too.
I think football-wise, it's cool they need to come here for one of those Thursday holiday games. So
who knows who will be playing quarterback by then. Anyways, let's get into these predictions, man. I say we get into it. So week 1, we are heavily favored versus the Giants at home. Giants 7.5. We are 7.5 point favorites at that. I don't think we predict against the spread right now, Pop, right?
No, we're not. That's just a note.
Got it. So I will take us in that one. I think that's a win for sure. What do you got there, Pop?
Yeah, I definitely got a win there. No question about it. I mean, it's always
a serious egg.
Giants always seem to play us tough. I do think they're going to be a better team this year, although, I mean, I guess it could be okay with Russ at quarterback. He was decent last year. Probably an upgrade from where they've been. But definitely got to go with the boys there.
Yep, agree. And that brings us to week 2. 1.5 point favorites at or 1.5 point underdogs at Green Bay on Thursday Night Football. Short week. We talked about this a little bit earlier. It's kind of nice to have that short week early in the season. You're at least not as beat up, and then you get that mini bye pretty early on. So if things go left, you got a little bit extra time to recalibrate. The beginning of the season, kind of slow things down. What do you got there, Pop? What do you think?
Quick note on this one. So this is the first of 5 primetime games, which is ties a franchise record, and 8 national games that the Commanders are going to play, where they're the only game on TV. So that's pretty wild.
Yep.
I'm gonna give us a loss here, only because I'm looking ahead. And if I don't give us a loss here, my schedule prediction might get pretty crazy. So I'm just going to say, although I think we're the better team than Green Bay, and I think we very well could win this game, I'm just going to say, for balancing some things out and not having my record go completely off the rails, I'm going to say that they drop an early tough one to Green Bay. Green Bay is a good team.
I think we whoop them.
There you go.
Speaking of whoopings, we got Vegas now. I think this will actually be a tougher game. Vegas is not the same Vegas they were. Pete Carroll's going to have them come out and play hard.
They're going
Geno
to look
Smith
a
is
lot more like Seattle and Vegas.
capable quarterback. That being said, I still don't think they're going to be good enough. I got to win here.
3-0 for the Dominator.
Well, it's going to go more than that. What do you got?
I got to win as well.
Yep, and I
think Vegas at home sets up great after mini bye type week.
Yeah, and it's I love this because it's a little bit of built-in assurance. Like if, let's say the Giants come out and you have that tough, fluky divisional game and we lose, and then we got a tough road opponent and we lose. Starting off 0-2 is not out of the realm of possibility, I don't think, just because balls bounce weird ways in the NFL. And then you get that 10-day mini bye week and kind of a cupcake in the Raiders to kind of get back on track in week 3. And then another team that I think you'd much rather play, in my opinion, I think you'd rather play this team in week 4 than in week 17 this year. That's the Atlanta Falcons. We are 3.5-point favorites on the road at Atlanta. I'm taking the boys here for sure. But I think this will be a feistier team than people expect.
Yeah, again, I think, especially having dropped the game against Green Bay, which I think, my predictions, I think is going to be a little bit of a wake-up call. I think the boys that'll help us get dialed in, focused in. Like maybe that's a sloppy game in Green Bay, or we turn the ball over a little too much or something like that. And I got us beating Atlanta in Atlanta. I feel really good about that pick.
Yeah, this next game I think is the first real test this year.
But the boys are going to be in the house.
At the Chargers, boys will more than likely be in the house. And it would take a lot for the boys not to be in the house for this one. I'm going to predict
a home game for you.
I'm going to predict a win just because the boys are going to be there. But I think if you get off to that 4-0 start, this could be your first dropped game here against the Chargers. I think it's going to be a really good team.
Thomas, 5-0.
I'm going to take a win there as well.
I'm going to go win. I agree with you in general. Like that's a dangerous game. Really good team. Obviously, really well coached. That could very well be a loss. But I'm not going to pick against the boys being there.
You can't.
Although we got crushed the last time I went to a game there and you missed it.
I wasn't there though.
Because of COVID. That's true.
Difference.
Boy combo. Although we kind of lost the one we went to last year. But nonetheless, we're going to bet on the boys.
Doesn't count. It's our rule about the Ravens. No matter what, you need them to win, they screw you. You need them to lose, they screw you. The Ravens are always going to screw us. That's just how it works. Week 6, 4.5-point favorites versus the Chicago Bears on Monday night. I've got to win here again. So
I'm not going to pick the Bears. This is not going to happen.
No,
it's not going to happen. And I think it's going to be a hyped game. There's almost a lot of little bad blood, right? You got Caleb versus Jaden.
Yeah.
You got, I went and watched the end of that game. It just happened to pop up on YouTube. And the Bears got pretty damn lucky on that last drive. I don't know if you remember the 4th down pass interference call on a non-catchable ball. Of course, it was against Benjamin St. Just. But, it wasn't like we just won by a miracle. They kind of got some breaks down the stretch on that last drive. Yeah. But I'm definitely going. I'm definitely going with us on that one.
Well, look, Chicago got some breaks down the stretch on that last drive.
If we didn't play that great,
that was also Jaden's rib injury that game.
Yeah, he wasn't himself.
Playing at about 25%. And let's just be honest. If anybody got lucky in that game, it was the team catching the Hail Mary. But
I'm just saying, I agree with you, but I'm just saying the Bears got some breaks too.
Sure, but not the break. But I think, personally, for all the hype that you might feel at this point in the season, I don't think this is going to be that hype by the time we get there because I think the Bears are going to stink. I got no faith in the Chicago Bears. So I'm taking a win here. It's going to be pretty handsome. I think it's going to be a chance for us to put all that
Johnson effect
nonsense to bed. Yeah, Ben Johnson. Hey, Ben Johnson, remember the whole being scared to come to Washington thing? Your quarterback just posted a confessional for absolutely no reason about how he doesn't want to play for the Bears or never wanted to play for the Bears. So are you enjoying that job? Did that work out good for you? We don't want you here anymore, and we whooped on you in the playoffs. So thank you. Way to blow it.
I knew I was going to hit a nerve there.
I hate that guy. What a dweeb, dude. What a total dweeb.
All right, so just pause for a minute. Dom's got a 6-0, 6 games in. What are you going to do when we do this again right before the season? It's going to be nowhere to go but down.
Dom's got us 6-1, 7 games in. I think we lose on the road at Dallas week 7. I think that's our first loss. I think Dallas will be better than you think they'll be at this point in the season. And I think we lose that game.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a Fox national game Sunday afternoon. I'm going to give us a win there.
There it is. So we're both getting
6-1.
6-1. And I think we lose against Kansas City as well Monday night next week. Week 8, Monday Night Football, Kansas City Chiefs, 3.5-point favorites. I mean, in what world would you have expected this team to be getting a Monday night slot, middle of the season, prime football against the Kansas City Chiefs? Good Lord, what is
I think that's going to be a lot of fun, right? I think Jaden is going to go into that game highly motivated. Great defense by the Chiefs. People tend to forget that. They just think of Mahomes and Kelsey and Taylor.
Yeah.
Up in the stands, but I think we're going to come in highly motivated with something to prove. However, to balance things out, and 6-2 kind of feels like the right record at this stage of the season. I'm going to say we lose that one as well. I think Kansas City maybe gets their classic break or two here or there, but that's going to be a fun one.
I'm reversing course. This is giving me Jaden Daniels making a statement against Joe Burrow. I think at this point, the team is 6-1. You lost the game you probably shouldn't have lost to Dallas. I think Jaden Daniels is going to go out there and prove that he is the best quarterback in the NFL week 8 against the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm taking a win.
Easy now, son. 7-1. Easy now.
And then I think we lose to Seattle. So there you go. I think
that way we're losing to Seattle.
Kind of a cupcake there. It's got a, or you know what? I'll take a win against Seattle the next week. Pop's going to take it there too, it sounds like. So next week we're 5.5-point favorites versus Seattle at home. That'll be Sunday Night Football. We're going to win that game. And then I think we do lose to Detroit in week 10, the week after. We're currently 1.5-point favorites, but I think we're going to lose that game. I think that's going to be one of those. They just need their get back, and I think they're still going to be a very good team.
Yeah, I mean, I would tend to agree. I think that kind of sets up for a team, like you said, an excellent team. I really like Jaden versus Goff. I just really think that's such a big advantage for our boys. So let me think. Let me think for just a second. So look ahead a little bit. I'm gonna give us a win there. 8-2.
Pop's going to take a win. So does that put us both at 8-2 at this point in the year?
Both at 8-2.
Yeah. All right. So Miami, Madrid. I got a win here.
Yeah.
Pop's got a win.
I feel really good that that's going to be a W.
Yeah, 4.5-point favorites versus Miami. At that time of the year, the Miami Dolphins are always kind of starting to come apart at the seams. They just can't seem to hold it together for 17, 18 weeks. And yes, I think that's a win for sure. And then it gets into our bye week the week after. So going into the bye, we'd be 9-2 right now. That's a little psycho. That's a little crazy. Maybe the boys need to cool off. But, I mean, hell,
it talks to the start of the season being where I do think they need to start hot. If they want this to be a special year, I do think they need to start out hot because it gets much tougher down the stretch. So it speaks to that.
Well, we were 7-2 at one point last year when Jaden was fighting through that rib injury, so I don't think it was that far off. And the Zach Ertz catch that was a first down, that wasn't a first down in Pittsburgh that lost us that game. That would have been a win. That would have had us at 8-2. And at that point, Emmanuel Forbes and Benjamin St. Juste were still starting for the team, and you had, Coleman playing left tackle. You had not Debo Samuel. You had De'Ami Brown getting meaningful snaps on the offense. Like, this team is just improved. They've either improved or maintained at every position group across the ball. I don't think it's crazy to project that they win a couple more games.
Totally agree.
We'll talk strength of schedule when we get to the end of this, but I have a point for that as well. Week 13 versus Denver, coming out of the bye, Sunday Night Football. I have a loss here because I think Denver's actually going to be really good this year.
I cannot give the Brock Purdy's better than Jaden Daniels crowd any kind of juice.
The who is better than who?
Win. Not Brock Purdy.
Bo Nix?
Bo Nix.
Bo Nix is kind of a rich man's Brock Purdy. He's much better than Brock.
My bad.
But
no, I can't give that crowd. I was going back and forth with somebody on Twitter about that the other day, where he was rattling off Bo Nix stats being better than Jaden. Classic pop moment there. Calling him
it's all good.
But no, I got to give us a win there.
Yeah, so I think for me, I think Denver had the best offseason by far. I think their roster is dangerously good. I think they're a dark horse to really compete in the AFC this year if Bo Nix can take that next step. And I believe he can. I think he's a good quarterback. I agree. He's better than
he's a good player.
But I think at a certain point, if you're projecting
it's a team game.
If you're projecting this team to be 8-2, 9-2 at this point in the year, the ball's got to not bounce our way at some point. I think this will be a close game, and it maybe comes down to like a missed 52-yard field goal or something like that, or like a fumble on the last drive, or a Johnny Newton jumping off sides at the last second kind of situation. I think that's what we're looking at there, and I think you just can't get all the bounces, so I think we lose that one. Now we're 1.5-point favorites week 14 at Minnesota. This one is just impossible to predict because you have no idea. I mean, Minnesota was a juggernaut with Sam Darnold last year, and we don't think Sam Darnold's a very good quarterback here on this program. And if you have J.J. McCarthy there, who we were both, I think I was higher on him than you were going into the draft, but we were both relatively high on. What do you think this Minnesota Vikings team looks like?
Yeah, I agree. It's a challenge, but I also don't think that. I think that it was much more KOC than it was Sam Darnold. Give Sam Darnold credit, for playing pretty well, except when it got to be crunch time. I just feel like at this point, I'm at 10-2. I feel like they're going to drop one along the way. They've won a couple that maybe you'd say they could have lost. I'm not going to say should have lost because I think they could play with anybody. But I think this is one on the road, running a little high, coming off a national TV game, although it's a Sunday night, not a Monday night, still makes it a little bit of an off week from a timing perspective. Then you got to go on the road. I think they drop this one at Minnesota.
Yeah, I think so too.
All right, now you're at 9-4. It's kind of sliding a bit here.
So this is why I predicted all the heat at the beginning of the pod. I was kind of looking down the schedule, and I was like, I think Detroit's probably a loss. I think Denver's probably a loss. I think Minnesota's one you could drop. So it's kind of like foreseeing. I didn't want to get to this point in the schedule and be 13-1.
Yep.
So, or be like 7-6. I don't know. My math's all off, but I think we get right game against the Giants. I think we beat them by 30 points here in New York. I'm going to take a win here. They're probably on their third quarterback of the year at this point. Jackson Dart's probably finally starting. And I think it's a win. What do you got there, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, when we get into our body bets and we talk about win totals, you're going to tell that Vegas isn't very high on the Giants. So the chances of the wheels coming off the cart for them, maybe even having a new head coach by week 15, are pretty high. So with that logic, I'll go for a win against the Giants.
And then Saturday game against Philadelphia, 1.5-point favorites. I think we win this game. Or 1.5-point dogs at home against Philly. I think two things. I think we win this game, and I think by this point in the season we will not be home dogs to Philly. What do you got, Pop?
I'm going to have us dropping this one. Just a tingle, but I think that it's, again, I think, as much as we're going to try and as much as things are changing, it's not a big road disadvantage for Philly. I still think Philly, at this stage of us picking the schedules, it hurts to say is the better team.
Yeah.
I just, I think we drop this one in week 16. I hate to say it, but I think that's going to be the case. I think it's going to be a battle, though.
So I got us winning that game, which puts us at
we're both at 11-4.
11-4. That's exactly where I want to be. And then I got us beating Dallas on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Because speaking of wheels coming off the cart, so I think Dallas will see some early success in the season, but I think they will inevitably do what Dallas does. And I think Brian Schottenheimer's probably not a very good head coach. That will start to show its head around this point in the year. And either way, I just don't think we get swept by Dallas.
Yeah, you had them dropping the first game. I had them winning the first game. But I feel really good. If we're going to lose to Dallas, I think it's going to be in week 7.
Yeah.
I think you're there. I think, again, you're right. The chances that things are starting to crack a bit in Dallas. I think their win total is like 7.5 or something like that. Spoiler alert. And I just think that even though we hate the idea of them playing at home on Christmas Day, I think Northwest Field, I almost said FedEx. I'm going to have to get used to the new name down in DC, whatever it might be. But we'll call it RFK for now. But I feel like that's just sets up for a great day for your Washington Commanders, and I think we win that one for sure.
Definitely, yeah. I think it's a win as well. And then week 18, we are 4.5-point underdogs at Philly. Here's why I hate this game in week 18. It might not matter.
Yeah.
That's why I hate it. I think you play this game week 16, week 17. You don't play this game week 18 because there's a chance it's TBD. They will obviously flex this game to Sunday night or Monday night. Whatever the highest bidder is will get this game if it is relevant because this will be the game of the year. But it might not matter, or you might run into a situation like you were in with Minnesota and Detroit last year, where we thought that was going to be such a great game, but Minnesota was kind of running out of steam at the end of the season. They'd been figured out a little bit, and Detroit just rolled them. So, I mean, this is just absolutely impossible to predict, and this is where I boxed myself into a little bit of a corner by predicting a win in week 16. But I do think 12-5 is about right for this team, even though I don't think I feel so great about predicting a sweep against the Eagles. But I'm going to say I think we win because both teams are playing their backups at this point, and we've made the playoffs.
Okay. Well, that's what I was going to say. We were both sitting at 12-4. So this is a question of, do we end up with the same record, albeit maybe a tougher schedule, or do we improve by a game? I think we improve by a game. I might go crazy when we do this again in the preseason, get us to 14 wins, but I'm going to stick with 13 now and say we're a game better than last year. I think the team is greatly improved. We've had pod after pod about all the acquisitions, the Laramie Tunzels, the Connor Lee pick. Of course, Deebo Samuel, who's looking fit, is looking fit.
Vibing out with Jane Daniels at the Mystics game.
Hanging out at the Mystics game with JD, looking trim. They got that bonding going on. I think he's going to be a real weapon this year in a bounce back year in that Cliff Kingsbury offense. So, yeah, I like a win here, too. I got us dropping the Philly game at home, but I think it sets up for a win here. And I think what the NFL's doing, I agree with you, there's the risk the game doesn't mean anything. They're rolling the dice. This is the game for the division, and it'll be a marquee matchup.
Yeah.
And, they could very well end up paying 3 times in a matter of, just a few weeks here, which is kind of crazy, but that's another reason I don't love it. But I'll go win, and we're both at 13-4. So book it, people. 13-4.
I
Really
like 13.
good.
I like 13-4, 12-5. I think between 11 and 13 is the sweet spot. I think you could be looking at you get some bad bounces and you win 10 games. I think you could be looking at you get some good bounces and you win 14.
Look,
But I think that's where I live.
look. I was having this discussion with another Commanders fan. Right, our instincts are to sort of hedge, right, because of just the PTSD of the last 30 years, right?
Yeah.
Hedge a little, maybe, buy into the fact that we got lucky last season and all of that. Come on. If you watch football, if you know what you're watching, if you listen to all the experts talk about what we got at quarterback and the way this roster has been built, yes, of course it's not perfect. What roster is? Maybe the Eagles is, tough to find a weekend saw, although I think their secondary got some issues. So, I think 13-4 is where we're going to end up. I'm going to be optimistic going into this season until they give me a reason not to be.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I feel the same way. I think you just, like I said, you look across the board, you can make a stink about pass rush. Pass rush wasn't all that last season either. We won 12 games. You can make a stink about defensive line. Defensive line wasn't all that either. We won 12 games. Oh, they lost John Allen. John Allen didn't play for the majority of last season. He didn't play from week 4 until week playoffs. John Allen was out for most of the season, and he stunk when he played. That's why he didn't come back. So I don't like you just across the board. You can't tell me, even if Lattimore is not what he was in New Orleans, you can't tell me he's not better than Benjamin St. Juste. Even if Trey Amos is a rookie, you can't tell me he's not better than Emmanuel Forbes. Even if Mike Samerstill played outside last year and you move him inside, you can't tell me he's not better than Noah Igbenogany. Will Harris and Jeremy Chin. I just saw a clip of the Shoemaker touchdown against Dallas. I was tweeting with one of our mutuals on Twitter. He said, how did he get that open? I said, well, Chin had some hard hits, but he'd make you scratch your head in coverage a few times a year. You made lateral moves at every position group, and you also improved significantly at other position groups. And if you look at the difference in Jaden Daniels from week 1 to week 18, you look what he did in the playoffs, you look what he did in late game situations, you look what he did on 4th down, on 3rd down, game on the line plays. You cannot project this team to be bad. You just can't. You just can't.
It's just I think what I see is, fans of teams like Detroit or Chicago or the Eagles wanting to project that this team got lucky and that they're not as good as people think, because that's what they want to think. That's what they want to believe, right? Or they want to talk a little trash. That's fine. Have at it. You're going to look bad come the end of the season. That's my opinion. So, just touching on the sacks thing for a minute, we were 12th in sacks last year.
Yeah.
So I think that Joe Witt Jr. and DQ are confident that they can generate pressure, and I believe they can. They got stronger against the run. They got stronger in the secondary. There's a lot of reasons to believe this is a better than defense and potentially an even better than offense, which is one of the top offenses in the league. So why not be optimistic?
Heck, don't go back to our pods from this time last year. Go back to the guys who know what they're talking about at an even higher level. Go back to the reporters pods. Go back to the Beltway football podcast from this time last year. Look at what they were saying about who the pass rushers were going to be. Oh, Farrell and Armstrong have a chance to be real starting DNs. That Fowler guy, he's kind of a situational rusher. I don't know he's going to do all that much. Nobody predicted he was going to be worth anything going into last year.
I'm still not sure.
10.5 sacks.
And I still think we're going to bring one of these vets that are out there onto the team. And
I'm not sure about that, but
yeah. But in the comments, what's your record prediction?
Yeah, I think anything less than 9 or 10 wins. I think if you want to be really conservative,
kind of comical.
9 or 10 wins is okay. I think anything less than that, you're fooling yourself. Going around the NFL, wrapping up our schedule prediction here. So just a quick comment. So the Commanders end up 8th in strength of schedule across the NFL, which I personally think at this time in the year is a really stupid metric, Because looking at our schedule, right, you have no idea what, if we're just talking quarterbacks, you have no idea what Geno Smith is going to look like in Vegas. You have no idea what Penix is going to look like in Atlanta. You have no idea what Dak Prescott's going to be worth in Dallas. You have no idea what Darnold's going to be like in Seattle. You have no idea what McCarthy's going to be worth in Minnesota. I mean, what is that, 7 games already that you don't know what the quarterbacks are going to look like? Just quarterbacks. Now,
well, this is just purely based on last year's win-loss total from teams.
Yeah.
Right? It's just a stat.
You see the amount of parity there is. So I think while this is a mathematical statistic based on last year, I think it's a worthless one. That being said, we have the easiest schedule out of anybody in the NFC East, according to this metric. The Giants have the hardest schedule than the Eagles. The Giants have the hardest schedule in the NFL at number 1. Eagles have number 4, and Cowboys have number 5. We end up at number 8. I don't know how that works out because supposedly when
you're playing a lot of the same teams.
Right. We've been told we got yelled at last year by Ravens fans that we had a last place schedule, and that's why we made it further than them.
Like you said, that stuff's overrated because you end up playing a lot of the same teams. You play the same AFC division, you play the same NFC division, and then there's a few extras in there, and yeah, you're exactly right. It's strength of schedule stuff is overrated. Yeah, I agree. But just wanted to highlight that really quickly as we're going through that. So that leaves us with Brock Purdy. Pop was so excited to talk about him earlier, he confused him with Bo Nix. Brock Purdy on my mind to a 5-year, $265 million deal. That includes over $181 million in guaranteed money. His average annual value is like $53 million a year. Is Jayden Daniels going to be the first $500 million quarterback? It's possible. I mean, the market keeps going up and up and up. But, yeah, I don't know. I'm sure as hell glad we're not in the Niners' position. Maybe they didn't have a choice. Not the biggest fan of Brock Purdy. Contract like this, just to me, could put them in a really tough position for what I view as a better than average quarterback in the NFL. Yep, it's the Kirk Cousins fallacy. It's like if you let him go, you're probably not going to get somebody better than him. But he's also probably not enough to take your team over the top with Kirk is a good comp. With what you have there. And I mean, I think Kirk I think Kirk at his peak is a significantly better player than anything Brock's ever shown. Never won anything, right? Yeah, but he was a missed extra point away from being Super Bowl MVP a couple years ago. But that wasn't his fault that the kicker missed the extra point. I'm talking about Kirk. But yeah, Kirk never won anything. Kirk never made it as far as Purdy did. But I don't know. You have to sign the kid. He didn't look all that great last year when he didn't have the Avengers around him. I think he's a good quarterback, but I mean, a lot can change in 4 years, but I'm just glad that we're not going to be in that position with Jayden Daniels. We're going to have to pay him a ton of money, but we're going to know that it's worth it. Not going to be any questioning of that at that point. But going across the NFL, what do you say we hit the bottom bets, Pop? Got to scratch that itch. Got to scratch that bottom bets itch. It's been too long. That's it. It has been too long. We could really make some enemies during this segment. That's what I like about it. Yeah. Philadelphia Eagles. Over under. I can't wait to hear your picks. That's what I'm waiting on. We're gonna do NFC East plus other notables. Philadelphia Eagles 11.5. Over is plus 100. Under is minus 120. I'm gonna align with Vegas and take under here just because it's 11 and a hook. If it was 10 and a hook, I'd probably go over, but I think 11 is the exact number for the Philadelphia Eagles next year. I'll pick over for the Eagles. I mean, I pick it with my head, not my heart. I think that's still the best team in football until proven otherwise. Great roster, great team. Yeah. Never know what can happen year to year, but I'm going over with the Eagles. I mean, they were 14-3 last year. If you're optimistic and you project only 800 yards of fall off from Saquon, and you look at where their other starters are at, is that worth more than 2 wins compared to last year? In my opinion, I think it's worth
more than 2 wins.
So logical question here. Commanders are 13 wins, and you've got Commanders winning the division.
Yep. Hasn't been a repeat winner in 20 plus years. I got the Commanders winning the division, and I think you could look back on that Detroit game and go, well, that could have been the 1 seed if we won that game. I think it'll either be between Detroit and Washington for the NFC East, or for the NFC. But even Detroit's interesting because you don't know what's going to happen with the 2 new coaches. But anyways, it brings us to the boys, Washington Commanders. We're both going to hammer the over here. It's set at 9.5. The over is -110. The under is also -110. And then there is an alternate over 11.5 for +270. So why not throw a little Scarol on that one? Because I think if you go over 9.5, you're definitely going over 11.5, personally.
That's a good looking bet. Now I remind myself of a couple of years ago when they were picked to win like 5.5, and you and I were outraged, and we put in a bet at 8.5,
7.5.
I think we put the bet in at 8.5.
We put it
over 8.5.
Yeah,
over 8.5. And what did we win that year? 3. So
4.
But it's a new day. It's a new day. Yeah.
Eric Bieniemy, our savior. New York Giants, 5.5 wins. Their over is +120. Their under is 140. Could this be the worst to first team, Bob?
No, but 5.5.
Taking the under.
The math might not be mathing on all these picks scientifically. I'm not sure, but I think they're going to be an improved team. Do I? I don't know. How many did they get last year?
Under.
You're going under?
Just bet the under, Pop.
I'm going over.
All right, fair. Dallas Cowboys, 7.5, over 120, under 140. What do you got, Pop?
7 and 10 sounds about right for the Cowboys. We'll go under.
Yeah, I'm stuck over
We
here.
got some talent.
You went over, you said?
Under. I went under. I say they get 7.
This is a good line, man, because I can see them getting 8 or 9. But I'm gonna take the under too, just out of hope.
I mean, they are favored to go over at +120.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Detroit Lions, 10.5, over +100, under -120. I'm taking the over here.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I don't know, but I mean, you could see this be a year where they slide back a bit.
Yeah.
They got some turnovers in coaching, although I guess roster-wise, they're every bit as good. They still got Dan Campbell leading the ship. So, talk myself into an over there.
Green Bay Packers, 9.5. Over +105, under -125. This was a team I loved this time last year. But I'm going to go under here. I think they win 9 games on the nose.
Yeah, the Packers are just one of those teams that they're just tough to get a read on. I think Jordan Love is a bit of a hot and cold
Second
quarterback, bit of a gunslinger, which fits Green Bay, right? That seems to be what they like to have back to Brett Favre days and stuff. But I think they're just a solid team. But yeah, I'll have them slightly under at 9 wins.
Yeah. Yeah, I got 9 as well, which will put the under. And then that brings up the Baltimore Ravens, 11.5, over 110, under 110. So they think it's right there. Ooh, that's tough. I'd have to look at Baltimore's exact schedule to make a call here.
They're the 9th rated schedule in the league.
So right behind us.
Yeah.
What do you got, Pop?
I'm going over. You know I'm going over.
Yeah. It's tough, man. I don't. got to come for Henry at some point, but I feel the same way I felt about Travis Kelce. Like, I just want to be a year late on whenever that comes. I don't want to bet on that cliff coming.
But also, I think they're just they've been such a strong
Yeah, they're
regular
so
season team. They got off to a slow start last year and still rattled off a bunch of wins.
Yeah. Like three games.
Where they've struggled is getting to the playoffs. I think Baltimore needs to be all in for home field advantage this year. And I think they could be a contender. But they need to rack up wins. They need to do it early and often. And I feel good about them going over 12.
So here's the hard part about this, and this is why it's the same odds for either one. Because if Baltimore's 13-4, is anybody surprised? No. If Baltimore's 11-6, is anybody surprised? Also no. Like, I can't pick. I don't think they're going to win 8 games. I'd be shocked if they won less than 11. But that 11 and a half, if it was 10 and a half, you hammer the.
Well, they're right there at the top of this list, right? 11 and a half is the best pick in the list, right? So
next to Philly, who was really the only team that really put it to them last year, was the Eagles.
I like them to get at least 12.
I'll go over. Why not?
I had you written down as under. Shocked.
Yeah, I like
soft in the off season.
I like 11-6, but I don't want to bet against them, which means they will go under since I bet on the over. That's what they do.
Bad news for the insider.
I mean, the spiace. It's not a reverse juju. It's actually what I think is going to happen, but I know they always just do the opposite. Buffalo Bills, 11.5, over is minus 145, under is plus 125. So this is, by these odds, this is Vegas's favorite team for next year because they have the highest odds. Obviously, Philly is actually under that 11.5.
Yeah.
Baltimore is only favored by minus 110 to go over. So this is minus 145 to go over that 11.5. So the NFL has Buffalo as the best team in the NFL next year is what they're telling.
That's a great eye there for sure.
I'll take the over. I think they're just like Baltimore. I think they're a great regular season team, and they just have not been able to put it all together in the playoffs.
I think they surprised some people about how strong they were. I'm just going to go with a gut here and say under. I just think maybe they slide back just a little bit this year. Yeah. It's an 11-win year. Are they on this? They're not even in the top 10 strength of schedule. I know we said we shouldn't value that too much, but
yeah, they got a cupcake division. I mean, they got to play the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Pats.
Yeah. I'm still going to go under on the tingle.
I'm going over. You got 6 built-in wins there in the division, and then who knows what else.
Yeah, it's a good point.
I'm going over. Kansas City Chiefs, 11.5, over plus 110, under minus 130. Give me the under. Got 11-6.
Vegas likes the under.
I got 11-6 for the Chiefs.
I'll go over. I like those odds. I mean, best record in the regular season last year. I think they're going to come back with a little something to prove. Still a great defense. I think that offense is going to rebound. They're going to go back in the lab. I think they're better than an 11.5 win team.
So I think this kind of reminds me of
and that's one of the reasons I went Bills under because I couldn't go over for all 3 of those teams. So I had to pick my poison. I like the Chiefs being over.
This pick by Pop, this is a deep Dom and Pop reference here, but this pick by Pop reminds me of when Pop picked the Golden State Warriors to win it all the last time they won the chip. And they were kind of like a little bit, everybody was waiting for Golden State to fall off, and we thought they were going to.
Back when we used to cover the NBA.
Back when we used to cover the NBA, before the NBA was just professional wrestling and totally rigged against the Washington Wizards. I can't even believe what happened in that lottery. But
that should have been a kick-outs of the week, but too much content here.
Blown opportunity there. But this reminds me of that. I wouldn't be surprised if Kansas City comes back and wins it all this year and reminds everybody who they are. But I'm going under. That being said.
Very good. That was fun.
All right. It was a lot of fun. A lot of great content here. Good stuff, guys. If you've been with us this far, I'd be willing to bet you're already subscribed. But if you're not, you clearly should be. So hit that subscribe button. Let's wrap this thing up. Without further ado, I've been Dom.
This is Pop.
Thank you for another great week, everybody, and hail to the Commanders.
Hail.